had a conversation with another Muslim TikToker, Mo Pesci. I was doing my live stream where I asked people to join and tell me what their religion is and why they believe that it's the one true religion. He did answer the question, sort of, but the conversation was a little disjointed all over the place. I could have done a better job keeping us on track, but I hadn't really heard him talk before, so I wanted to give him a chance to express himself. The conversation picked up towards the end, and though it wasn't conclusive of anything, I'm just posting it because people wanted to hear it. So without further ado, here's how it went. Oh, Mo Pesci's here already. Hey, how's it going?
Habibi, how you doing today?
Not too bad. Yourself?
You know what? Alhamdulillah, I can't complain, my brother. I know we didn't get a chance to really get in contact with you. It's good to see you back in action. I know you may not have the most favorite opinions, but unlike my counterparts, I enjoy having honest conversation. I think honest conversation allows people to be authentically themselves, speak what's on their mind, but also gives people an opportunity to have intellectual discussion. Because the one thing I pride myself on, I don't know if you've ever seen any of my lives, I pride myself on having, when I use the word intellectual discussion, I know most often people say, but you believe in God, you're not an intellectual person. Well, I mean intellectual in the form of decorum. I mean intellectual in the form of mannerisms. I mean intellectual in the form of just being a decent human being when you're talking to one another and just understanding people. So for me,
Agreed.
I'll answer your question. Why do I believe my religion is the one true religion? I think that's personal. I don't think it's in my position to dictate to any one person what the true religion, excuse me, what the true religion is for them. As I do on my platform, I tell each and everybody, I don't sell religion. I'm not in the business of selling religion. I'm in the business of selling positivity. If what I say resonates with you and it helps you become a better human being, great. If it doesn't, hey, then it doesn't. Skip, go to the next person. But I do believe each person is endowed with an innate ability to have some self-discovery, to discover what is truthful and beneficial for themselves. But I do believe that sometimes as human beings, we do get blind. We try to put our desires ahead of uh, what we know is right and wrong. And because of that reason, I had to come to my own self journey and self-discovery. Not to overindulge. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm sure you got a lot of people here.
Feel free. Yeah.
But I'm half Palestinian. I'm half Italian. Half of my family is Roman Catholic. The other half of my family are Muslim by title, not really by action. Another good percentage of my family on both sides, you can say, are agnostic at best. So I could have really grew up any which way. Really, the side of the coin that flipped was based on my determination and my own self, what I call a self-evaluation. What do I want out of my life? What direction do I want to go into? My mother, may God rest her soul, became a Muslim some years after becoming married to my father. She was not a Muslim when she married my father. It was not a forced conversion. This was something she did on her own. My father only became religious towards like the late 30s, early 40s of his life. So I really wasn't surrounded by a lot of religion. So a lot of the stuff that I had to do was self-discovery. A lot of the questions that I had: what is the meaning of life? Why do we have black people? Why do we have brown people? Why do I look the way I look? Why do we have lepers? One of the best questions I asked my father one time is, I said, Dad, how come God made homeless people? How come he made everyone homeless? How come he made some people doctors, but then he made some people garbage men? How come everyone can't be a doctor? And I'll tell you the answer later. I think I'll tell you that on my live. Maybe I'll get some viewers. But the answer that he gave me at that time, I didn't understand. As I grew older, I saw the wisdom in it, and I understood that there was wisdom in things as long as we asked the right questions. But if we're only looking for the questions we want answers to based on the answer we want, then you're not really looking for an answer. You're looking for someone to co-sign what you want. So with that being said, to me, I believe that you are going to be on a self-discovery to lead you where you need to be. That's it. For me, Islam is
Oh,
where
I gotta say,
Islam is.
I really like the part of your answer. So, sorry to cut you off. There's a bit of a lag, so sometimes it might sound like I'm cutting you off. Um, I was gonna say I like the part of your answer where you said that it's a personal journey. Basically, every person is different, and in your case, it was just you basically found Allah um, through a personal choice, right? Between the two, you had the choice between studying more into Catholicism, I suppose, or Islam, and you chose Islam, right? Um,
Correct.
yeah, I respect that
And
you were
I,
saying it's a pretty personal journey.
it is a
So yeah,
personal
just
journey
wanted to.
because what people tend to forget, and whether you're a Muslim, a Catholic, or Jewish person, just because you are born into a family where they may have a pre-designated faith, that doesn't automatically facilitate that you are a default participant in that faith. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean this. Muslim, for example, people erroneously use it. It's a Semitic word, but we try to use Semitic words in a Western sense, and they try to use Muslim as if it's a noun, a person, place, or a thing. Then they use Muslim as if it's an adjective where it describes a noun. But Muslim is actually a verb, right? The word Muslim in Arabic is a two word, it's a compound word. It is an action-based word. It's in submission. So you're doing something. So if I am, for example, a person who's drinking, drugging, and doing everything contrary to Islam, and I'm not praying, Islam dictates that I'm not in submission. You don't. It's not like you're part of a gang, right? It's not like my daddy's a blood, my mommy's a blood, I'm automatically a blood member. That's not how it works.
Mhm.
So Islam, a lot of Muslims tend to forget this is an action-based faith. You're not simply something just because you say the creed of Islam. That's not how it works. And consequently, if you really studied Catholicism, if you study Protestants, the doctrine of Christians, Jehovah's Witness, it's the same concept. You can't just claim something without the action. Even Catholics will tell you if you're not going to confession, you're not receiving salvation because you have to
Mhm.
admit your sin to get cleared. So how are you walking around sinful? That's why they have the confessionals. So all religions, even Jewish people will tell you, yes, you are, ethno-religiously Jewish, but if you are a non-practicing Jew, they curse you and call you an Ashmim Goy, which is like you're acting like a Goy, you're acting like a Gentile. So all of the faiths have this, but we in modern times have lost the idea of what it means to be a religious person, which means tolerant, which means tolerant. You understand God works on his time. He doesn't work on your time or
Mhm.
my time. You have to have an embodiment of patience. You have to have some action behind your belief system. And really, you should talk less because your actions will talk for you. I don't need to sell my religion. I just need to be a good person. When people see that I'm a good person, they go, "Hey man, what do you do? How do you get so peaceful?" Actually, I just make all decisions knowing that I'm being watched. What do you mean watched? Yeah, like FBI on you? No, I mean I believe in a higher power, and I know that I need to make the right choice because I believe that there's a supreme being looking over me, and I don't want to be
Well,
judged by
I want to
someone.
ask you something because your position is very unique. So you said you were born in a family half Muslim, half Christian. So I'd like to know how do you feel about? I mean, Christianity is easy because they're people of the book, but how do you feel about the half of the family that didn't decide to go down your path? What do you think happens to them in the eyes of Allah, for example?
You want the Islamic answer or you want the general answer?
Well, I'd like the Islamic answer because you're a Muslim, right? What do you believe would happen to them, or um, in
In the
other
Quran
words,
it
like I
says,
don't want, yeah,
in the
yeah.
Quran it says, Allah yahdi man yasha wa yurzuq man yasha wallahu ala kulli shay'in qadir. That basically means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that knows and guides. No, and there's not, if any single imam, sheikh, mufti, scholar, whomever tells you, oh, they're going to hell. Why? Do you know you have a ticket to heaven? Who are you? Well, in the Quran it says, yes, but it also says this. Why do you cherry pick which phrase you like to use? You see, this is the difference. What separates me from others is that I don't infuse my interpretation. I simply look at what it says right there in clear context. For example, there's a lot of hadith, quote unquote, about apostasy. And you have three very specific ones. There's one where the Ibn Mujab is walking, and he's quoted to sit down with a Jew, and this Jewish person, Ibn Moshi, had converted to Islam and then reverted back to being a Jew. And Ibn Mutab said, "Oh, I will not sit next to him until he's killed, because the Prophet said that in his day." But wait a minute, you said the Prophet said that. Okay, cool. Let's go back. Do we actually have a hadith that says, "Qal Rasulullah," that you kill apostates? The answer is no. What you have are 3 Sahih hadiths. They are Sahih hadiths, but they're in third person based on 3 other individuals that heard what the Prophet said. They're not taken directly from the Prophet. For example, as another hadith where the Prophet is asked about.
I gotta say, I appreciate that you have that mindset towards it, but how do you feel about the hadiths that are there that inspire laws like these? Like off the top of my head, there's a hadith about the slave, the Jewish slave who used to disparage the Prophet, and her owner killed her. And in the justification, it says it's because when she became a kafir, she's no longer a dhimmi or under the protection of her master. So in that sense, it is allowed to kill her. So I'm not trying to tell you that you need to believe that, in apostasy laws, for example. I want to know, how do you feel about these things existing, regardless of how you feel about them? Do you go out and try to change them? Do you preach against them?
As long as the hadith, in my opinion, as long as the hadith comes out of the Prophet's mouth directly, where it says, "Qala Rasulullah," me personally, and I don't speak for all Muslims, I speak for Mo Pesci, I don't buy them. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in them. The reason why I don't believe in them is because as a Muslim, I was taught that the only preserved text that will stand the test of time is the Quran. Allah in the Quran said, and this Quran shall remain unchanged. In Surah Al-Ta'lam, he says, this Quran will remain unchanged until the end of time. He didn't say this and the Hadith and the Sunnah and the Qisas al-Anbiya. No, he said this Quran. That means that the Quran is an eternal revelation. Now, what happens is this, and I truly believe this. I'll be the first person to say that there are many scholars who have made some erroneous fatwas. Like, for example, in 1923-24, there was a fatwa that was issued that radios and TVs were a sin to own because they were operated by jinn. This is a real one.
Right. Yeah. But these fatwas, I know that some of them have like outrageous fatwas. I'd like to know like some of these.
They redacted it in 1936. Why? Why did they redact it though?
Right.
Because fundamentally, we have a problem in the Middle Eastern world. Arabs, they are the chiefs, the politicians, the leaders, the everything. Nobody wants to be a follower. Everybody's a leader. So what happens is now, when you make a fatwa, you cannot make a fatwa on a topic that you yourself do not have any understanding of. For example, let's say apostate is a medical.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where you're going with this because, I'm not contesting like a bunch of wild fatwas here and there. I'm just curious what your take is on hadith in general, for example. Like you said that if the Prophet didn't say it outright, then it's not something that you take. But do you accept Sahih hadith then?
If the hadith does not coincide with the Quran, I don't believe it. For example,
so do you talk against? Do you speak against the people who do believe it? Do you try to preach that?
No. What I'm saying is this: if a hadith for me does not coincide with the Quran, I don't believe in it. In other words, there's an ayah in the Quran. It says, "La yukallifu Allah." Excuse me. La ikrahu fi din katabayin al-ghayb. La ikrahu fi din katabayin al-rushd min al-ghayb. There's no compulsion in religion, for your Creator has made what is clear to you, right? Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? If there's no compulsion in religion, that means I can't force you to believe. So that contradicts hadith that say, right? That contradicts hadith that say, go in and do X, Y, and Z. Or if someone did this, then they are X, Y, and Z. This contradicts. So if it contradicts, I don't buy it.
Okay, I appreciate that, but I'd like to ask for your help then. You know, as you are a Muslim and this is your belief, and I agree with that, at least to the extent that we get to other issues in the Quran, and we could talk about that. But what are you doing to change the state of the Ummah to be more like you, or to think more like you in that regard?
I use my little real estate in TikTok to pass on this knowledge. Now, most people, don't get me wrong, I don't rub elbows with everyone. I am friendly with everyone. I try to be cordial with everyone. But even in the Muslim TikTok circle, I am not always looked at with, okay, he has knowledge, because my opinion runs counter. But my opinion is really just based on academia. I'm not learning from Sheikh Batih and Sheikh Apple. I'm learning from true academics who understand the theology of the religion. For example, a lot of Sunni, I use the word loosely, a lot of Sunni Muslims are quick to demonize Shia Muslims for the way that they pray. But then these same Muslim TikTokers, I ask them, do you know the difference between the obligatory actions in a prayer versus the actions we do because the Prophet did them? No, the whole thing is because the way you do it. No, that's not true. That's not true. You see, you don't know. And Imam Shafi, one of the most revered scholars of Islam, said the most dangerous type of dawah, when you go out and talk about Islam, that a person can do is try to give dawah to fill someone else when you are empty. That means you have to be full of the information yourself before you can share it. How can I share something with you if I don't know what the hell I'm talking about?
Well, okay, that's a very good point. I'd like to ask you, how do you feel about the TikTok dawah people who don't exactly know what they're talking about, but they're sharing their opinions anyway? Like, I can name a name, but I don't want to like name drop anything.
Well, you know what?
But there are.
I'm gonna tell you something about me. For example, a little different. I told you I'm a little different. If I did, like, for example, let's say Apostate Aladdin made a TikTok and it rubbed Mo Pesci the wrong way. I will refute the TikTok, but I will not name Apostate Aladdin. Why? Because I am taught that shaming someone is not a form of validating your opinion.
No, I appreciate that, but I mean, when it comes to, for example, like, you're someone who advises people on Islam, right? In a sense, you're sharing your understanding of it, right? What about your peers who, I'm not just naming like random TikTokers, but people that you know personally who are on TikTok and they would talk about an opinion and they're not fully versed in it. Do you think that you would call them out if that happens?
That's wrong. If someone is not fully versed on something, it's better to be quiet because you can do more damage than anything. For example, I remember one time there was a conversation about the word concubine. In Islam, they use, I'm going to show you something, if I may. I want to just show you something because it'll help you understand the point that I'm trying to make. But before I show you this, I got a question to ask you. Do you read Arabic?
Sure.
Can you read Arabic?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So you will be able to say, okay, you know what? Pesci's onto something. I'm going to show you something. And then I want you to say, oh, he's right. He got the point. I'm going to just flip my screen, okay? Now, this is from the Quran. This is Surah Yusuf, yeah? Can you read what this says?
Let me see. I can't zoom in very well. قال يوسف لابنه. I can't see very well, but just Sajidin. Yeah, no, the screen is not very big.
Okay. What's this word? In Arabic, how do you say the word star in Arabic? What's the word star?
Najm is one of the words.
Right? Najm.
Shihab.
You agree? Yes? No,
Yeah.
you're right. What is the word planet?
Wait, it wasn't Kaukab.
Yes.
Kaukab,
right.
yeah, Kaukab.
Now, watch
Yeah.
this. I'm going to read it for you. This is why I asked you. This is in the Quran, okay? This is why I tell people, do not read English translations. In Surah Yusuf, verse 4, okay? In Surah Yusuf, verse 4, I have to pull my phone back so I can read it. It says, إذا قال يوسف لأبيه يا أبت إني رأيت أحد عشر كوكبا. You said كوكب is planets, yeah? I agree. But here in English, what they translate it as, behold, Joseph, said to his father, "Oh, my father, I see 11 stars." Uh-oh,
Right.
we found a
No, I'm with
boo-boo.
you there. The English translations are lacking sometimes. I agree with that. Yeah.
Now we found
Yeah.
a boo-boo. Now, I am an Arabic speaker. You are an Arabic
Same
speaker.
here.
I read it in Arabic and I found the mistake. However, a person reading English would say, "Oh, stars, stupid Muslims. There's not 11 stars. There's more stars than that. Why would they only see 11 stars? But we know it's planets, sah?
I
Now,
mean, I don't know if that pertains to me in any way because I usually go for the Arabic tafsirs for that specific
no,
reason,
I
right?
hear you, but I'm talking general, yeah?
Yeah.
Now, the word concubine, there is no word concubine in the Quran. The word concubine only exists in medieval translation. It was infused in our translation. You see the word
So
mulk
there's a
al-yamin.
word. So, yeah, what is Malik al-Yamin then? Mulk
Uh-huh.
al-Yamin.
No, it's not malak, it's mulk
Mulk
al-yamin.
al-Yamin. Yeah, yeah.
Now, what is
Mulk al-Yamin.
mulk al-yamin? Very specific distinction between concubine. A concubine is a woman who is used for sex who has no choice. You have no say in the matter. A concubine has no
I
say.
I don't know if I want to go into this topic at the moment because then we're going to
No, no,
discuss
I'm making a
what are the power
distinction in
dynamics
verbiage.
of consent.
No.
Let's,
Forget about what I'm saying is forget about the understanding. We're talking about the definition. Simple definition. Concubine is a woman who is taken who has no say in the matter. She's a concubine. You are my property. You are my property. I own
right.
you. You have no say. Basically, a slave
Okay.
for sex. Yeah. Mulk
What
al-yamin
is
is
Malik
different.
al-Yamin? What is Mulk
Mulk
al-Yamin? ما
al-yamin
ملكت أيمانكم.
literally
What is it?
translates to the rightful owner. Mulk al-yamin means the owner of the possession. Who owns this person? Now, how is that different than a wife? Concubine is a woman who is taken who has no say in the matter. She's a concubine. You are my property. You are my property. I own
Right.
you. Mulk al-yamin means the owner of the possession. Who owns this person? Now, how is that different? In Islam, how do you deplete a resource that is negative from society? For example, when the Prophet told people to end slavery, he could not say, end slavery today. Because if you did that, there's a power dynamic, a power shift. You're talking about a group of people who literally used to plug their ears like this and say, we don't want to listen to you. Literally, they
Mo,
used to do
I'm
that.
sorry to have to interrupt you there, but slavery wasn't ended in Saudi Arabia till the 1970s. So I don't think the
Exactly.
plan was to do it
Exactly.
gradually.
That was a societal ill on Saudi Arabia's part, not an Islamic
No,
ill.
no,
You
that
have to make
was
the
Islamic
distinction.
slavery. Islamic slavery never went away. So I know that there's this narrative that the Prophet was trying to reduce it, and that's why you should give away a slave when you make a mistake, and so on and so forth. But that never really worked. That never really worked. It took the UN to outlaw slavery. So
Because
I don't
who
know. Do you
was
want
it?
to discuss concubinage right now? Like, is that what you want to talk about?
No, I'm just making a distinction with the way that they use the word and the translation. It's the wrong word because
I don't think you.
a mulk
Yeah.
yamin can give her consent. If she does not give her consent, it's constituted
How
as
does a slave
rape.
give consent? How does a slave give consent?
No, mulk yamin, not a slave. A mulk yamin is different than a slave.
That is,
A mulk
they're
yamin
owned, right? How does
cannot be
someone who is
slave
owned give
labor
consent to their master?
by saying yes or no. Do you think the
Right, but
slave
okay,
is
let me give you an example. Wasn't there a case where the Prophet and his Sahaba they won some kind of battle, and then they were asking him, "Are we allowed to take the widows as mulk yamin?" And the Prophet allowed it. What kind of widow would want to be taken with consent after her husband was just killed by the warrior? How is there
so
consent there?
because you're talking about pagan Arabia. Remember, what you're doing is, if I may do something, there's a term that you're doing, which is called ethnocentrism. You're judging the standards and morals of a society based on the standards and morals you have grew up in. The standards and morals that are understood in a 1,470 years ago cannot be judged with the same jurisprudence that you're doing today. That's like saying that Louis XIII, when he married his
Not in this
9-year-old,
context. Not in this
sure,
context, Mo. Like
it's the
it's
same
owning a
thing.
person is owning a person. Like I'm talking about
No,
consent and
no, Habibi, it's
concubinage
not.
here.
It's very different. It's very different. Today, if you own someone in America, you're looked at as a bozo, as a weirdo. Like, how can you own a human, right?
Yeah, we
Because
know
you're
that.
American.
We know
But
that.
guess
Yes,
what?
but
But guess what?
can you try
If
to
I
explain to
go
me
to
then
my
how
wife,
does a now
wait,
I
wait.
want
If
an
I go,
explanation with this specific case. How can a widow whose husband was just killed consent to being owned and slept with by the person who just killed her husband, or one of the
because
warriors who
she
killed
has
her
to
husband?
give
How is
permission.
that
No,
societal in
she
any way,
she
societally different?
has to give permission for any sexual activity. 100%. There's a case where Umar al-Khattab was the presiding Khalifa, and one of the Mulk al-Yamin went to complain to the presiding governors and said, so and so has slept with me. I did not give my permission. And he said to her, who owns you? Who do you belong to? And she said, so and so, Ibn Jarir or Jafir. I forget his name. Ibn Jafir. He made him take 100 lashes, the same punishment as committing a zina, set her free, and she was owed penance. Because you have to take the
Right. Okay.
permission.
Well,
You cannot just say,
there
you're
are.
mine, I'm gonna do with you as you wish. That's not how it works in
So
Islam.
you're saying
Now,
you're saying the slaves consented to being taken and then consented to being slept with? Is that what you're saying?
what I'm saying is Mulk al-Yamin have to consent to being Mulk al-Yamin. Otherwise, they're just slaves. You can only become Mulk al-Yamin if you consent. If you do not consent, then you're considered a domestic servant. And
Well,
by the way,
can
a
you explain to
female,
me? Sorry, by the way, I just want to make a comment. Everyone in the comments keeps telling me I'm interrupting. I'm sorry, but I need to speak as well. Like this is a live stream. So I want to clarify, what kind of woman would watch her husband die and then accept being taken and slept with by the warrior? I'm sorry, like that doesn't depend on back
okay,
then. That doesn't
so
depend. That's
no, it
humanity.
does. No, it does, because what you're doing
Are you saying women
is
had no brains back then? Like, are you saying women didn't think for themselves or feel?
oh
How does
no.
that work?
What I'm saying is very clear. You cannot be ethnocentric. You cannot make a judgment for a woman 1,470 years ago as a woman today. A woman
I
1,470
don't think that
years ago,
matters. In
it
this
does matter.
context, it doesn't
It
matter.
matters. No, Habibi, it matters.
Are you
You're
saying
thinking,
women back then like had like no hard feelings for their husband who just died? They didn't
no, what
feel
I'm saying
ashamed
is,
or
no,
oppressed to sleep
what
with the
I'm
man who just
saying
killed
is,
their husband?
what I'm saying is, women back then, it was eat or be eaten. And they had to make a life-saving choice. Either A, I remain without a spouse, without any male protection. You're talking about the harshest elements of Arabia, man. They have no running water, no one to hunt for. This is a woman who has to fend for herself and however many children she has. You have no protector. That's literally the worst type of situation. The problem is, Laden, I don't think you understand that the society that women were in. We're talking about a society where men were burying girls because they were girls. They were with men
Right.
would
We're
prostitute
always
their own
told that.
mothers, right? They're
We're
prostituting their
always
own
told that,
mothers.
but I have to ask you something. Was it so difficult for the Prophet and his Sahaba to have them as servant and help them out without sleeping with them? What was the necessity of that?
Because
That's
it's
what I'm trying to
realistic.
understand here.
It's a realistic factor. You cannot put two people in a condition, especially knowing that you have males and females. It is a condition to help one another. What do you think? Women don't get horny? You're saying
No,
help them as if the woman is supposed to
are
be
you telling me
celibate.
that,
Women get
so
horny
why
too.
wasn't it the other way around? Like, why didn't it work the other way around? Why weren't there concubines that are males that the women can use the Muslim women when they get horny? That's what I
Because
want to ask.
if a person gets pregnant, then what does the woman become? How does that work? You're gonna give
The
birth to
slave got her
your.
pregnant. So why did
But you
Allah
see, how
disadvantage
does
the
that
women in
work?
that
You
case?
see, you're looking again. You're looking at it from an ethnocentric point of view. You can't do that. You cannot understand another society's harshness and societal character
No,
based on the
you're right.
character of
You're
your
right
society.
to a point, though. You're right to a point, though, Mo. But
What
you're
do you
trying to
mean?
sell us this
Hold
idea that
on.
women
I
were
got a
just
question
so
for you. Honest
powerless,
question.
and the society couldn't work in any other way. That's what I'm
Hold on.
not buying here.
I have an honest question for you. Honest question for you. Right now,
Sure.
is there any country in the world right now where a girl can get married? A girl, a young girl.
What do you mean? A young girl can get married in what country?
Yeah, like I don't know. Let's say a 12-year-old girl gets married. In your view, is that good or bad?
A 12-year-old girl? Bad?
Yeah. Okay, that's your view, right?
Yeah. I think that's
Okay.
just humanity's view. I can explain why that is wrong, but
No. They still do this in parts of Eritrea, Christian majority nation. A lot of the Jewish
and they're
people,
wrong for it.
once a woman gets
And
to
they're
her
wrong for it, yeah.
father, but you can't say it's wrong. That's your view because you grew up
I
in
could tell you
a
why.
society like
Do you
that.
want me to explain to you why that is something like that is wrong? No matter
You
what
can
the society.
you can
I could tell
explain it
you,
if it's wrong for your society, but you can't
no.
judge
I could tell
someone
you why
else's
for any
society.
society. Can you just give me a chance to explain why it's objectively wrong? It's because a
For
woman, well,
your
not a woman, I'm
society.
sorry, a girl who got to 12 years old, even if her reproductive organs are ready and this and that, has she had a life where she can make a choice on her own, her own choice? I want this man or I don't want this man, let alone sexually. Just like I want to marry this man or not. What does a 12-year-old know? So you're saying a man, like a father, would hand off his 12-year-old girl in some societies, and that's okay because that's how it is in those societies and this and
Yes,
that. I
yes.
disagree.
But see, now what
No.
you're doing, but now what you're doing is what's going on right now, and that's what's harming the world. We're trying to make the world the same. And when you do that, when you try to make the world the same, you harm people by harming and infringing on the society that's respective in their culture. For example,
No,
in
we're
France, right
saving the
now,
girls by stopping the
no, you're not.
society from
Here,
progressing the way that it
listen
is.
to this. I'm gonna go with you. Right now in France, to wear a hijab,
Right.
they tell you you have to be 18. Okay, but guess what? To have sexual relations, you can be 13. But to get
I,
married, you can be 15. Now wait a minute. Wait a minute.
right.
Hold on. You're saying they're too young to be married, but France is saying they're old enough to have sex.
Yeah, France is wrong. France is wrong. There we go. It's
Now,
that
wait a
easy.
minute. Come on. You see what you're doing? You are now saying,
I'm
no,
not
they're
doing
wrong.
anything.
You
No,
can't
I'm
do
not
that.
doing anything. France is wrong for that. France is wrong for that, except that France doesn't pretend to be, I don't even know if this is true, but if that is true, France doesn't pretend to be the best religion for all times and all places. So I'm sorry, it's that easy. France is wrong.
Someone said, you talk about France, you crossed the line. What do you mean do? They're in the news. I'm just talking about what's in the news.
Wait, I'm not sure who's crossing the line. It's very clear here. Marrying or having sexual relations at this age is wrong. It's that easy. Done.
But I'm just saying that my position is this, and I respect your position. Don't think I don't.
I'm
But I
sorry.
am,
I'm civil, but I don't respect your position on this matter. Not one
that's
bit.
okay. That's okay. We could be civil about it. But I will say that the fault of our society today is that we have become too ethnocentric. And that is our problem. There's a great
No,
book, you should try to grab it. It's called The Nasamaria. When you get a chance, I want you to find this book. It's called The Nasamaria. It's actually the word American written backwards. And it's written by a person who migrated to the States. And they give a great description of everything that they see wrong in our society, but they describe it with such detail that you think they're looking at something horrendous, atrocious, but then you realize the guy's only talking about shaving his face, or a woman talking about shaving her legs, because we're looking
Mo,
at
with
our
all due
society with
respect,
our view.
Mo, with all due respect, no amount of like whatever you're saying, we should see it from a different point of view. I'm sorry, but marrying 12-year-olds is wrong in every context. Like this is, and I'm gonna say it. I don't respect your opinion having that. Not even like this is a
Oh,
disagreement.
I'm not
Like we could
saying I
disagree about
agree.
the nature of
No,
God.
no, no, no.
I don't
You
mind.
misunderstand. So let me restate my position. I'm not in
You can
agreement with
restate it.
marrying 12 or 6 or 10. No, no.
You're
I'm
saying in
saying,
certain conditions it's okay, is what you're saying.
no, what I'm saying is that I respect every country and society's
I
opportunity
don't.
to host
I
and
don't.
rule their own society and culture. You're saying you don't respect
No,
individual
there are
societies?
certain fundamental lines we don't cross, and one of them is protecting children, for example. So I don't respect, like, this is the problem with the whole respect religions or respect cultures issue. It doesn't mean respect the culture or religion with everything that's in it. If this is part of it, I don't respect that. So I don't
So
respect
wait a minute.
whatever
Are
part of
you
Eritrea
saying,
you're talking about.
are you saying then that the people that are Mexican, for example, and South America and Latin
Mm.
America that celebrate quinceañeras, when a girl becomes a woman at 15, you're saying they're wrong for that?
They're celebrating her turning 15 or becoming a woman,
Becoming
but
a
not
woman.
having sex with her at 12. That's very different. I don't understand what you're
So
saying here.
now, are you saying that there's an age of, that you'll tolerate? Is it a toleration of age that you'll tolerate? Like, what's the age you'll
I know where you
tolerate?
try to go with this, but
What's an age you
the
tolerate?
thing is, the point of the age here is she has to be mature enough, not only mature enough, but had enough life experience to know what she's doing, to know whether she's consenting to this marriage, if this man is a good man, and so on and so forth. It's not just about her being ready physically and the father handing her off.
Well, of course, now we are a much more advanced society. We understand this. I'm not talking about.
Did
I
Muhammad
would
not
not do.
understand it? Like,
I
I'm
I
trying to
would not do
understand
it.
how you're defending it.
I would not do it for my daughter. But I'm not going to judge another country and another society. I think that's crazy
You
because I don't live
should.
there.
You should.
But
You
I don't live there.
absolutely
I don't
should.
know what their social norms are. I'm not an
You don't need to
Alaskan. I have
live
no
there to know
idea what
something so fundamentally like simple. You don't need to live in Eritrea or France to tell them that this rule is wrong. It's that simple.
someone's saying they can't hear. You guys can't hear us?
No, I
Hello?
can hear you fine.
Yeah, if you can hear me, they should be able to hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But that's my thing. I do want to say though, I think this was probably the most productive conversation I've seen you engage in. Nobody cursed. Nobody got reamed out. This has been awesome.
Oh, I don't curse. The one time that I really got into it was with Adil, and you know how that went.
You could decide to do what. Yo, you could sleep with a donkey.
Not the person.
Could you sleep with a donkey?
Oh, you went there. You could sleep with a donkey and think
Could
it's.
you?
I swear to God, every 12-year-old, every
Could you
12-year-old
sleep
with
with a
half a
donkey?
brain, and that wasn't because I started cursing. But
Well,
yeah.
listen, I'm actually got to catch up on a lot of my. I'm a big Sopranos fan. I'm half Italian, forgive me. But I do want to say this was a very fruitful conversation. I'm glad I got a feel for you. I
Agreed.
hope you got a feel for me. And with
Yep.
everyone in the live, I want to say that I was actually eyeballing the live, and I saw nothing but great correspondence with one another. I didn't see anybody cursing or acting erratic. Kudos to you guys. And one last thought that I want to leave with everybody: social discourse. Okay, it's a good thing. You don't always have to agree. You can disagree, but it's how you disagree. It's the manner in which you disagree. That's what really sets the bar. So we're all here on this earth. We have to learn to share with each other, understand one another's viewpoints. And look, I walked into this thing not really knowing where it was going to go, but I learned a lot. I'm hoping that I shared something with you. If you learned something, that's okay with. No, I don't agree with pedophiles. I just agree that, in my opinion, each society should be able to operate in their own independent terms. And Mr. Aladdin saying no, we
I
should
disagree
have
with
the
that.
standards, right? And that's it. That's my point. But do you
Yeah.
think that I agree with pedophiles? Is that your opinion of me?
I'm not going to put any words in your mouth, but I disagree with your outlook on this topic. Let me just put it that way. But I
Subhanallah.
appreciate you coming out here and sharing it openly.
SubhanAllah, people already slander. Man, I didn't say. I just said, I listen. I would never do that for my daughter. Let's be clear. I believe my daughter. First of all, my two girls are not going to get married till they graduate college. That's first and foremost. Ain't nothing happening until they graduated. Especially because I reside in the United States and we live in a society where one income is simply just not enough. And I want my daughters to be strong women. That's first and foremost. But I will tell you this: my mother got married at 16. My father was 17. My aunt got married at 15, my Italian side, 15. The other one got married at 14. My 15-year-old aunt's husband was 26. My 14-year-old aunt's husband was 20. Giuliani was 27, Amir? 27.
I get the
So,
point. I get the point
you
here,
understand
but
what I'm saying? So
um,
this isn't like a
all right.
far-fetched concept for me, you know? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I appreciate you all. Thank you again. I hope I didn't take up too much of your time. Peace and blessings to everyone out there. And may our Creator above continue
All
to
right.
bless us all and find Him as we
All
need
right.
to find Him. Adios, everybody. Salam.
Take care. Bye. Bye. I'm gonna take the next caller, but all right. I just want to make it clear. I didn't want to make this an argument. I had a lot of other disagreements to air here, but I just wanted to let him speak for himself, and we got his opinion on the matter. I didn't want to strictly make this about the Prophet's marriage to a child and so on and so forth, but he brought up the topic, and anyway. So I recorded the introduction to this video, and then I was working on the thumbnail while listening to the talk. And I realized I am way too goddamn nice with these people. And by these people, I mean TikTok dawah men. So Mo Pesci seems like a nice guy. But when you look under the surface, he's still asserting very harmful beliefs. I don't care how nice he is. Just listen to what he had to say. Plus, he was a bit condescending at the end, which is rich coming from a guy who's friends with Adil. And he never called him out on his bullshit. So I'm having a bit of a change of heart. I've spoken to 3 TikTok dawah men so far. The first one was Adil Ghadban. We all know how that went. He kind of made an ass of himself when he was asking me why I wouldn't have sex with a donkey. And there was this classic moment.
Curious to why
Are you serious? Would you sleep with a donkey? Can you imagine if I asked Muslims, hey Muslims, why don't you sleep with donkeys?
Because we're not allowed.
Because we're not allowed?
Because we're not allowed.
And then I spoke to Riyadh Muslim. It was a civil conversation, but he seemed confused by everything I said. I chalked it up to him being tired. It was late where he was. But then he blocked me on TikTok, which I'm pretty sure is indicative of him being embarrassed of the talk. So he could have asked for a do-over, but he just chose to block me. So I'm going to call him out on that as well. And then we got Mo Pesci here talking about how he's not going to judge societies for marrying young girls. No, I will judge those societies, and I will judge you by extension. I mean, this is not me hating Mo Pesci, for example. I don't even know the guy. And maybe I should have gotten to know the guy before I let him on my stream, because I am way too nice. I still am going to be civil, especially with the general public. It doesn't mean that I'm going to go around insulting Muslims, calling them names, or picking fights with specific people for no reason. But if someone like Mo Pesci or Adil or whoever is a da'wah person, they are inviting people to Islam. They are representative of Islam. So if they don't have an opinion on something in Islam, that means they didn't study enough, or they're just too scared to just tell us what the opinion is. Like, for example, Mo Pesci seems to not know what happens to disbelievers. They're going to go to hell. Let's not dance around the subject. Adil was more upfront with it, except he was just a little bit of a child. And Riyadh Muslim was also evasive when he said he doesn't know what the penalty for apostasy is. He just kept repeating, if you spread corruption in the land and this and that. And yeah, I've been way too nice. I'm going to start cornering people like that a little more. I'm going to be a little more aggressive with my questioning. I'm not going to let them speak over me for that long. Like Mo Pesci was just rambling for the first 17 minutes. And I didn't know I would have this opinion after listening to the talk. Like, I have such a bad memory that I didn't realize it went that way. So, specifically, I want to call out to, if you're watching or if one of your followers is watching, Adil Ghadban, I want to invite you to come have a talk with me. I'm not even sure about which topic yet, but the bone that I have to pick with Adil Ghadban is that he goes on Omegle to preach to children, especially topics like child marriage, because even non-Muslim children have heard of Prophet Muhammad marrying a child, and they ask him, and he would just change the definition of the word child, and he would try to explain that it is okay. Here's an example.
Do you think that a girl that is hit puberty, is mature, and her father is okay with it, do you have a problem with it?
If she's reached the age of puberty, her father's okay with it, and is mature, I'd be fine with it. But if she's hit the age of puberty,
we're okay with it. Alhamdulillah.
Hit the age of puberty, if she's just right there.
Alhamdulillah, bro. Then I guess we have absolutely no problem, Aji.
So, if you want to be labeled Adil Ghadban as a Canadian Muslim pedophilia apologist, it's up to you. If you don't, if you want to stand up for yourself and explain to me why you're not a pedophilia apologist, this is an invitation. Feel free to reach out to me on Instagram or Twitter. I would love to have a talk with you. Riyadh Muslim, if you want to have a do-over, sure. If you don't, it's okay. I understand that was very embarrassing for you. Mo Pesci, I'm not sure if we need to talk again, because I feel like you would just keep talking over me on and on again, and I do not respect your opinion on the matter of child marriage. And frankly, by extension, I don't know if I respect you anymore. I understand, like, agreeing to disagree. Like I said, if it's a philosophical matter, if it's about the existence of God, I couldn't care. But something like this, I don't think I could just disagree and say I still respect you as a person. So, that being said, thank you for watching this whole thing. Look forward to more, except this time I'm not going to hold back. And as always, think critically. Think for yourself.